fellow sleuths. Well, welcome back to our look at Season 1 of the C.W. Nancy Drew series. And today our look at this series continues on with The Haunted Ring. During their sleepover, Nancy wonders if Bess might be the killer, since she's looking. Bess might be the killer. She's looking for since Bess has Tiffany's missing ring. The two are woke in the middle of the night from strange noises leading downstairs. The electric appliances in the house act strangely. Lights flickering, the microwave turning on and exploding, the TV turning on and playing Tiffany's final moments before also breaking. Carson checks downstairs and welcomes Bess, but wonders what happened to the TV. Nancy suggests the fuse, which Carson rarely agrees to check. Nancy catches Bess looking at a photo Catherine drew and dismisses her attempts to her to open up about Kate's death. Bess and Nancy discuss the strange happening, but Nancy chooses to dismiss it as a strange glitch before turning in. At least out loud. Internally, Nancy's suspicions of Bess grows and theorizes that the supernatural event was Lucy trying to warn Nancy that Bess is the killer. Nancy dreams of the night of her last winter formal. Her mother, bedridden, encourages Nancy to attend while Carson sits at Kate's bedside. It quickly shocks her awake when she leans down to kiss her mother goodbye, only to come away from Kate's tombstone. She thinks about Lucy and Tiffany, aware she's haunted by too many dead women. At breakfast, Bess asks awkwardly when Carson asks about the health of Dinah Marvin, her aunt. Nancy visibly disapproves when Carson informs her he'll be with Ryan Hudson for Tiffany's funeral. He also informs them the autopsy reports that Tiffany died of natural causes. Nancy skeptically makes a mocking remark, and the two Drews tensely finish their conversation. When Bea leaves with Carson, chastising her for looking at people as clues for cases. Bess is satisfied and happy that the report means that they're all off the hook. Nancy, however, doesn't buy it for a second. Nancy drops by the captain of the tiny vessel, the Marvin's yacht, still inquiring about Bess being Diana's niece. The captain, bemused, says he's never heard of Bess in the 20 years he's worked for the Marvins. Meanwhile, Nick sets up a camera in the garage aimed toward his safe where he keeps his inherited bonds. When Nancy calls him, Nick gently tells her that the story spins the way the Hudsons want. It's a literal get-out-of-jail-free card. They can all move on with their lives, and Nancy could even reapply to Columbia University. Nick returns to work, and Nancy picks up a free newspaper about Tiffany's case, which is really ripped out of her hands by the passing Laura Tandy. Laura has the dubious honor of being the last living Tandy and Tiffany's younger sister. Laura storms the police station demanding justice for Tiffany. She says it's convinced of the natural cause of death of Nancy, of the natural cause of death as Nancy is very vocal about it to Detective Karen and Chief McGinnis, convinced that Ryan Hudson did it due to his infidelity with George. Later, Chief McGinnis calls Ace, his informant, and tells him he needs to find out what Laura knows about Tiffany's death, which is said to be complicated since Ace and Laura are exes. Ace feigns a hacking cough to get out of work, and since George is a mite paranoid about the blood bucket curse from Rita or Tiffany, she orders him home. Ace passes by Bess, who had been in the middle of hearing strange whispering. She suspects it's Lucy or Tiffany, but pretends she's fine when Ace questions her. Nancy breaks the autopsy report to George, who's briefly believed before Nancy plainly states she doesn't believe it. George is exasperated and Bess backs her up, but Nancy is undeterred. Bess sneaks into the freezer to mark Tiffany's diamond ring and puts it on, when she again hears strange noises. This time coming from deeper inside the freezer from beyond a grate. Bess anxiously asks what the whispering voice wants, and the grate opens and the grate pops open in response. George and Nancy claims customers hear Bess is screaming. The two rush to the freezer and find Bess crawling on the floor, terrified. Her legs are scratched up with long bloody claw marks. Nancy is absolutely flummoxed. George orders the kitchen crew back to work while they help Bess attend to her wounds. That's when George spots Tiffany's ring on Bess's finger. George accusingly asks if Bess killed Tiffany. Bess immediately denies it, but even Nancy's tone turns accusatory now that the theft is out in the open. Bess, voice still shaking, explains she found the ring near where Tiffany died, knowing it had been the latter's. By the time she realized who it belonged to, they were suspects in Tiffany's death. And also, Bess likes sparkly things. More importantly, Bess tries to get them to refocus on the fact that she was attacked by something. George tries to figure out why Ghost would attack Bess, Nancy calmly sees that she doesn't believe it was dead Lucy. George sharply points out that perhaps the ghost who attacked Bess is the one she stole from. Bess sternly pulls off the ring and wonders if the ring is haunted. George grins and reveals she might know someone who could help. Back with Ace, he's been stalking Laura around town. It turns out unsuccessfully because Laura cheerily confronts him after he's briefly distracted. She gives him a prize for effort, a box of gushers and a record album, a live one by Fish, that calls upon his sibling Sona persona. Laura swiftly moves on and questions why he hasn't called or texted her since the previous summer. Ace defends that he bumbles just as well without being stoned, which is fair since he's been caught flat-footed. Ace offers his condolences as they catch up. Laura admits they fought before Tiffany died. Tiffany was working up the courage to divorce Ryan, which Laura wasn't very sympathetic toward. She believed Tiffany should just do it. But then Tiffany died. Ace admits that his friends were suspects and reveals that Tiffany called the police the night she died, and that there's an audio recording of it. Laura, intrigued, asks if there's any way she can hear it. Ace further tries to say he can't help her with his hacking because of his deal with Chief McGinnis, but folds after another word from Laura. Carson, who was with Ryan, notes that the latter is wearing his wedding ring again. Ryan excuses himself that it felt appropriate for the day. He also asks Carson to read a letter after the funeral that states that the Hudsons are founding a non-profit in Tiffany's name. Carson agrees that it'll go a long way with the community. Ryan then questions what the next step is in getting money from Tiffany's estate. Carson pauses before laying out what needs to be done. Ryan pats him on the back before walking off, leaving Carson uneasy. Back at the Clam, Nancy breaks into Bess's locker and finds her British passport other named Bess Charani. Bess catches Nancy in the act, but Nancy really turns her back on her and questions who she is and why she lied about being related to Diana. George interrupts their brief argument to introduce her mother, a psychic clairvoyant. George had always dismissed her mother, Victoria Fant, as a drunk and a fraud, and she isn't especially happy that she finds herself needing her mom's help. Victoria knew liked Kate. George's mom explains that no ghosts can't really speak. They want help but aren't even fully aware they're dead, so they act in unpredictable and sometimes violent ways. And Tiffany's acting out now because it's the day of her funeral and she sees that she's no longer attached to her body but doesn't understand why. To help, they need to put the ring back on Tiffany's finger, which will guide the ghost back to her body. They place the hand around Tiffany, says mirrors attract spirits. The trio make plans for the Horseshoe Bay Funeral Home where the service is taking place. Bess is too rattled to do it, but George offers to do it instead. Nancy, in turn, offers so privately to George considering George's history with Ryan, but George says exactly why she should be the one to do it. George was actually concerned for Nancy, says there was another funeral and might be difficult for her because of Kate. After having dressed for the funeral, Nancy snoops Carson's desk papers. When Carson comes in, Nancy points out how dodgy the autopsy report is. Tiffany had a puncture wound behind her ear, but it wasn't mentioned anywhere in the paperwork. Nancy knows she knows about it because she put it there when she stole a vial of Tiffany's blood. The two get into another argument. Nancy wants to know the truth, but everyone, including Carson, only seems to care about looking after the Hudsons. Carson appreciably retorts that Ryan is his client. It's not only his job, but he also has more important things to worry about, including paying off medical bills and Nancy's bail. Nancy Scully asks how convenient that is for him, to have a daughter and dead wife to place his excuses on. The air rings in silence before Nancy leaves, slamming the door behind her. Oof. At the funeral, Nancy analyzes everyone's behavior. Nancy, upset with seeing Carson with Ryan Hudson and his parents, Celia Hudson and Everett Hudson, note how Ryan barely looks at Tiffany. Nick and Nancy discuss Tiffany and Laura Tandy thanks him for being a good friend to her sister. Elsewhere, Ace updates Chief McGinnis on Laura Tandy, claiming she doesn't know anything about Tiffany's death. Everett and Carson butt heads when Everett ominously thanks Carson for joining the family, even though Carson reaffirms he's only Ryan's lawyer. Nancy leaves lookout duty to Bess after this interaction. But when Diana Marvin approaches her, Bess also leaves the post. George, meanwhile, gives a quick apology to Tiffany's corpse, but when she's about to put the ring on the corpse, she has to hide under the casket when she hears approaching voices. Ryan and his father, Everett, enter the viewing room. Every Kelsey says it's a shame Ryan didn't get her pregnant. Ryan is genuinely emotional when looking down at Tiffany, but Everett is coolly dismissive. Left alone, Ryan quietly apologizes before also leaving. George gets up quickly from hiding spot and slips the ring back on Tiffany's card before rushing out. Unfortunately, she forgot to place the mirror down as well, like her mom said to do. George and Nancy find Bess together since the latter was supposed to be watching the door. Bess is in a hurry to leave, and disgruntled Nancy loudly asks why she doesn't carpool with the Marvins. Diana, who was nearby, turns to look back curiously. Bess, upset, stalks off, but Nancy follows closely behind, demanding answers. Bess drops her American accent, revealing her Cockney British speech. Shows Nancy she thinks she's a Marvin, but doesn't know for sure. Bess grew up in East London and idealized the Marvin family her mother said they were descended from when times were especially tough. Bess doesn't know if the stories were true, so she came to her she obeyed to find out for sure. Bess has a genealogy kit in her luggage, but she still needs the DNA from one of them. Nancy casually points out that she told everyone that her last name was Marvin. Bess defends that she didn't realize this was a small town where everyone knows everyone. Nancy questions what Bess intended to do if it turns out to be true, but Bess righteously interrupts Nancy, saying that she just doesn't care about family. She hadn't been asking for Nancy's opinion after all. Nancy hypocritically says Bess doesn't know her life, but the same can be said about Nancy. At the service, Everett makes a speech about Tiffany when her 911 recording call is played out loud. This call clearly demonstrates that her death was not natural. Laura stands and harshly criticizes the Hudsons and Ryan before leaving. Chief McGinnis automatically knows Ace was the one who provided the recording to Laura, but is more or less willing to let it go because of Ace's father, Tom, though with a warning. Back at the graveyard, Karen Hart tries to get Nancy to talk to her about anything. In front of Lucy Sable's gravestone, Nancy asks if Karen knew Lucy. Karen hastily tells her they were in the same graduating class in high school. But the only clues they have for the killer is a bloody knife and tire tracks they left behind at the crime scene. Confused, Karen points out that Nancy's asking these questions to avoid talking about her mom, Catherine. Over Tiffany's grave, George once again apologizes more contritely for her affair with Ryan. As she does so, Tiffany's spirit wafts into the mirror in George's bag, proving that Victoria was right. Nancy heads to her mom's grave to see Carson visiting it with 2 bouquets of flowers. One from Carson, and the other is supposed to be from Nancy. Nancy nearly leaves, but Carson calls for her, heartbroken hurt over the tension between them. Nancy breaks into tears as she finally voices how much she blames him for not calling her while her mother was dying, when Nancy was obviously having fun at a dance. However, Carson had wanted to honor his wife's final wishes. She didn't want Nancy there to see her die. This is a problem that has no right answer. The two are pained and wounded with the knowledge that this is something that can easily be settled between them. Nonetheless, Nancy accepts the bouquet and the two kneel together at the grave for a moment. After Carson leaves, Nancy speaks to Kate's grave and admits the reason it took her so long for her to believe ghosts like Lucy and Tiffany exist is because she wanted to believe her mom would have come back for her. That Kate hasn't tears up Nancy inside. At the post-funeral press conference, Carson makes the announcement for the Tiffany Hudson Educational Outreach Center. When reporters start asking about the validity of the autopsy report, Carson seeing Nancy tells a truthful opinion on it. He doesn't believe the report to be accurate. Ryan knows that Carson's made a mistake as he ends the conference, and ever slowly threatens that it won't be as easy for him to leave this time. Carson leaves, muscles taut, but acknowledges Nancy's proud expression as he passes her by, happy that he made her and Catherine proud. Karen and Chief McGinnis are there too. At the parking lot of the Clam, Laura apologizes to Ace for using him to help Tiffany and getting him in trouble with Chief McGinnis. Ace pretends like it was fine, but honestly, he was upset when Laura left originally, which is why he hadn't bothered staying in touch with her. The two end up kissing, rekindling their old romance. Nick returns to the garage to find his lockbox open and rifled through. Thankfully, his safe remained untouched. He turns to his camera with the knowledge that whoever broke in was recorded. Nancy, in her room, analyzes the video of Tiffany's final moments from on her laptop. Watching the video, She realizes Bess was telling the truth and Tiffany is shown dropping a ring. Video glitches out, showing an imprint of Lucy's ghost before the screen cracks dramatically. Bess enters her bedroom and Nancy apologizes to Bess. She admits she needed a distraction at the funeral and Bess was an easy target. Bess, in turn, admits she hasn't approached Diana Marvin and the rest of the Marvins yet because if in truth it turns out they aren't actually family, it would devastate her. Nancy sees the crack on her computer screen and realizes it's the same way it cracked on the microwave and TV screen. That is, in fact, cracked in the shape of a map of Horseshoe Bay, with the epicenter being the high school. In a montage, we see Bess looking up Diane Marvin. Nanda watches security recording to see Laura Tandy stealing the thumb drive. Nancy and Laura hook up in a car. Nancy sneaks into school and spots the corkboard from the class of 1999. Hidden by some of their photos is pictured dead Lucy and Karen closely smiling together. Meanwhile, after hours in the parking lot of the Claw, the spirit in George's bag enters her. George collapses and reenacts Tiffany's final moments with Lucy. Dun dun dun! So let's look at some trivia to write in this episode. The episode aired on Kennedy McMahon's birthday. Nice. Horseshoe Bay's local high school, Keene High School, is named after Carolyn Keene. Oh, interesting. So overall, I think this episode's pretty good, and yeah, just everything going on with this whole series is kind of interesting, so yeah. So overall, I give The Haunted Ring 5 Deerstalkers out of 5. But anyway, tune in as we do the next episode, The Case of the Wayward Spirit. So, until then, remember everyone, the game's afoot.